Today's show is going to be a little bit different. I've had a lot of people over the past 6 months to a year talk to me about what my future plans are for 2026. It's no secret. I've been looking at running for governor of the state of Maine this year, and I'm here to tell you today that I'm in. Welcome back and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us on the Garrett Mason Show. I am ever your host, Garrett Mason, and I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. I know that I did. It was really nice to just take a few minutes, spend some time with my family and friends. I also hope you enjoyed our pre-recorded episodes with Riley Gaines and Justin Strife from Turning Point USA. We had a great time with those folks at the Protect Girls Sports Rally back in late November, and I hope you enjoyed that content and everything that came with it. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Also, follow us on all of the socials. We do try to update regularly and put new clips up from our shows and other things that you might find interesting. So we hope that you'll do that for us so that the algorithm puts more stuff in front of you. Today's show is going to be a little bit different. I've had a lot of people over the past 6 months to a year talk to me about what my future plans are for 2026. It's no secret. I've been looking at running for governor of the state of Maine this year, and I'm here to tell you today that I'm in. I'm running for governor in 2026. I'm excited to do it. I know I'm the best candidate to lead our party forward, and I'm going to explain in this podcast why. You know, this campaign really isn't about checking boxes. It's not about slogans. It's not about any of the typical things that you would see when somebody launches a campaign for any office, let alone governor of the state of Maine. Republican primaries and really primaries in general get very stale very quickly. I've watched and I've even been part of a debate that way back at the beginning of 2025. And there's been many already. And it's funny because it's, the early part of January and we don't even have a candidate yet. Nobody's even submitted enough signatures to be on the ballot. But these primaries get very stale very quickly because we agree on 90 to almost 100% of the issues facing the state of Maine. Everyone promises the same exact outcome. The question, especially in a primary, is not what we believe. It's who can actually deliver on the promises made. The reason I'm running is very simple. It's not because I have better ideas. It's because I know how to actually turn those ideas into results. I remember when I first got elected to office in 2010. I was 25 years old. I flipped a almost 2-decade blue seat into a red seat and walked into government with a lot of other people who had just done the same thing, a lot of other Republicans who had just done the same thing. And while we did a lot in that legislature, there was a lot of missed opportunities, in large part because we were all trying to figure out where the bathrooms were. We were trying to figure out the timing, how the schedule worked in the legislature, how the bureaucracy was fighting from the inside to resist any kind of change. All of those things made the first 2 years in Augusta, while we had great success, very difficult. Maine does not have time in 2026 for a political hobbyist. We don't have time for someone to come in and learn on the job. We have to have somebody who's already been there, who knows exactly what to do, and who knows what levers to pull and which ones to not pull. A governor has months. I know we talk about, a governor has a 4-year term. to prove themselves to the voters before they're up for re-election again. But I am here to tell you, as somebody who's been under the dome for a long time, both as an elected official and as a public affairs consultant and as a lobbyist, the governor has approximately 3 months to set an agenda that they can work on for the next 2 years. And you can't even consider the 2 years after that because you don't know which kind of legislature you're going to have. Bureaucracy moves a lot faster against inexperienced executives. That's just a fact. I've heard a lot of people in the Republican primary talk about how they're an outsider, about how they've made their way in a different place in life, the business world or nonprofits or in the legal field or in Washington, D.C. And that's all fine. I'm not here to discount that. But I am here to say that for this time in history and this time in our state, experience matters. And that experience for those folks is incomplete. There are times for outsiders. There are times that we need somebody to come in and rattle up the system. That is not this time. This moment requires precision. It requires institutional knowledge. And it involves understanding the real levers of power, not just saying you're going to sign an executive order for everything. That's a half measure. That doesn't actually get the job done, because an executive order is only as good as the next executive, because it can be completely eliminated as soon as you're gone. Right now, Mainers do not need a wrecking ball. They need a finish carpenter who knows what they are doing. And that is what I will bring to the table as governor. I think one of the best analogies that we have is one that we're already seeing on display right now over the past 10 years. In 2016, Donald Trump was that outsider. He came in promising to reform government. He had noticed that the American way of life was on decline. He knew that the Obama administration had done great harm to not only the American way of life, but the American economy, much of which we are still suffering through today. But Donald Trump was foiled by bureaucrats and inside baseball that he did not understand and he did not know how to play. He has admitted such many times since leaving office in the first term. We saw that government take revenge on Donald Trump through impeachments, through 2 impeachments, one after he was out of office. We also saw it on display from 2020 to 2024 when they tried to jail him, made him take a mug shot, just short of putting him in jail. All because he took a stand, but he didn't understand exactly what he was dealing with in the swamp of D.C., which is very aptly named for both D.C. and Augusta. What we need is a fast forward in Maine to Trump 2024. He's figured it out. He's disciplined. He knew what he was doing before he walked into the office, but he also had the understanding of what the American people were going through, and he had the understanding of his business world experience. Trump knows how government actually functions. He knew what he had to do the second he got in there. And if you remember to the first few days, hours of the second Trump administration, it was breakneck speed with extreme precision. That's what I'll bring to the governor's office. I've also heard a lot of campaigning. I've been able to sit back and watch over the past year the candidates in the field, especially on the Republican side, try to talk about how much they are like Trump, how they're just like Trump, how they campaign for Trump the hardest. Maine doesn't need a Trump impersonator. Every single person who has tried to be Donald Trump has failed. Donald Trump is a once-in-a-generation leader. Whether you like him or you don't like him, he's a once-in-a-generation figure that cannot be duplicated. I will not be a Trump impersonator. My value is knowing exactly how to work with Donald Trump, not to pretend to be him. We've seen a lot about that on the campaign trail. It's ineffective, it's unserious, and quite frankly, it looks ridiculous. I am the only person qualified to do this job for this moment in time. I bring the only complete resume for the office of governor of anyone in this race. I've been a business owner. I've owned and still do own multiple businesses. My wife also owns a very successful contracting company. I own a public affairs firm. I've bought and sold many businesses. I served 8 years in the Maine legislature, in the Senate. 6 of those 8 years, I served in the majority. 4 of those years, I served as the majority leader for the Republicans. And for those watching that are not from Maine, who think that Maine is just a blue state enclave, it's not true. Maine elects Republican majorities from time to time. I was fortunate enough to sit through 6 of them. 4 of them I led. I've run caucuses. I've managed the Senate floor. I've passed legislation. I've failed, learned, and succeeded in the building where all of this is going to go down in 2026. I know who the bureaucrats are that we have to be careful of. I know who the lobbyists are that are connected to people that can make change. I know who the legislators are. A lot of people don't realize that so many of our legislators, who are everyday people who work outside jobs from their time in the legislature, have served between the House and the Senate for 30, 40 years in some cases. These people have been here for a long time, elected by their communities to represent them for many, many years. I am the only person in this race who has current relationships with the people who can make decisions. I've also served on the local level. I'm currently a county commissioner in Androscoggin County. I've dealt with local law enforcement. I've dealt with the jail system. I've dealt with the criminal justice system. I have done a full-rounded experience. God has blessed me greatly with the experience that I've had in not only the private sector, but the public sector as well. Experience matters everywhere in life. This is one of the world's greatest job interviews running for governor. Experience should matter here as well. Relevant, real experience, not just in the business world, but in government experience as well. I think a lot of people in this race and a lot of people who typically run for executive positions like governors of states or mayors or, county administrators in other state, people that, when you have to run for an executive function, especially when they're coming from the outside, they think that the executive is essentially a dictator. That's not how it works. You don't just get to go in and decide whatever you want. Now, you have great latitude over the departments that you run. But in Maine, you have a board of directors of 186 people who are elected by people to represent their interests, right alongside you. A governor is completely useless without a legislature. You get a short-term Band-Aid. You get to rule by executive order, which can easily be reappealed at whoever the next governor is. And you don't get to pass real, meaningful change that affects people and starts the road to recovery. Maine has 186 legislative districts between the House and the Senate. Winning the governor's race, and I'm not going to bore you with history and how governors have won in the past, but winning the government requires a statewide effort. Every time we've been successful in electing a governor, it's because we have worked with every person on the ticket. It's because we've worked with those local House and Senate candidates and even town council and school board candidates who are running for office at a much smaller scale than I will be running for. Those races will be paramount, and even more so probably above the race that I run. Because I'll tell you this, if we elect a legislature, if we have majorities, even if it's a majority by one, I'll be governor. I promise you that, because that's how it works. And without the legislature, even if I were to able to sneak out a win, or any other Republican candidate would be able to sneak out a win, you would not be effective. And anyone telling you otherwise is lying to you. It's just not true. I've done this before. You need somebody who knows how to recruit, who knows how to go into a community and understand the person that would be most likely to win a seat. You need someone who knows how to coordinate a state effort. You need somebody who has actually managed majorities before, which I have done in 2014 and 2016. One of the only people that can say that. I've been involved in re-electing a Republican governor. I've had back-to-back legislative successes. In fact, I am the only living majority leader for a Republican in Maine history that's led back-to-back majorities. I am not running to lead alone. I am running to lead a team. You know, if you're looking for a full-blown plan on what I will do as governor, you can get a really good look at how I voted, thousands and thousands of votes that I've made from 2011 to 2019. You can know exactly where I stand. I'm fully vetted. You can go online, you can look up everything that I've ever done. I've lived my life in the public eye since I was 25 years old. I'm the only candidate that's had a full vetting who's run for statewide office before. And if you're looking for a full-blown policy picture today, you're not going to get it. We have to fix what's broken. And like I said before, 99% of the things that have been said on the campaign trail over the past year, and in some cases 2 years more, I agree with. I'm a Republican. I agree with most everything that the Republican candidates who are running for governor right now have to say. Yes, this huge fraud and abuse problem. We've highlighted that issue for 16 years, even more. We see it in our communities. Everybody knows the rampant fraud and abuse that's going on in places all over the state of Maine. Yes, there's crime in cities, and it's skyrocketing. I can tell you that from firsthand experience as an Androscoggin County administrator. You look at our jails, they're overflowing. Androscoggin County right now has to pay almost $1 million a year to house criminals in other jails across the state because of the increased crime in Lewiston, Auburn. Washington County has dealt with the same thing, very small rural place. Penobscot County has also started to falter under their jail system. We have increased crime everywhere. It's not hard to see. I agree. We have to clean that up, and there's ways to do that. Chinese marijuana grows. We have foreign interference in our state, foreign criminal aliens in our state taking up our housing stock, making housing prices go through the roof, infecting our communities with drugs. It's everywhere. Of course we have to get rid of that. And I'd also add on the side, it's not really cool to steal other people's reporting and try to fundraise off of that. We certainly won't be doing that here on this campaign. There's incredible abuse of the social safety net program. Over 35% of Maine people are on some sort of government program, whether that be through Medicaid or it be through SNAP, WIC, you name the government program, it's an incredibly high amount and it's not sustainable. We've had massive overtaxation. Maine has chosen an incredibly progressive tax structure that punishes people from working hard and allows people who visit here or people who claim residency in other places to freeload off the system. But we've chosen to do that. We have to fix it. All of those things we agree on, and many, many more. Affordability, all of these things, we agree on them. We have to fix them. But Mainers also need hope. We have to chew gum and walk at the same time. You have to fix these programs. You have to fix all of these problems. But you also have to give people a reason to hope for the future. And I am endlessly optimistic about Maine. I think Maine is one of the greatest places in all of the world. And I've had incredible fortune to be able to go all around the world, traveling for missions trips and for personal leisure, and I have seen the world. But this is where I want to be. It's the greatest place, not only in our country, but in the world. Our slogan, as much as Janet Mills wanted to try to change it when she first got into office, is the way life should be. And I want to keep that saying very alive while I'm governor. But we have to give people hope, and we have to give people a reason to believe that Maine is the way life should be. We have to attract investment, not from other places in the United States, although that's great. We have to attract investment from other parts of the world, and we have incredible natural resources and reason for people to come here as international companies expand their portfolios into the United States. One of the things that I think, just a small story, one of the things that I think is incredibly underrated, Maine has the largest deep water seaport in America, and it might be in North America, in Eastport, Maine. It doesn't need to be dredged. We can handle just about anything in there. It's completely underutilized. Over the weekend, we saw President Trump liberate Venezuela essentially in 3 hours. There's going to be a lot of oil and other exports coming out of Venezuela. And how you feel about that, I don't really care. It's reality. That's what's happening. And we have one of the best access routes to Europe in Eastport, Maine. A community that has been struggling for a long time, but has been able to hold themselves up. Maine is one of the most forested states in the entire country. We have incredible natural resources no matter where you go, and they have been ignored, underutilized, and in some cases completely forgot about. I remember when I ran for governor in 2018, one of the things I talked about frequently was that the governor of Maine needed to be an ambassador to the world, not just to the other states in the union, but to the world of why Maine is a great place to live, work, raise a family, and do business. My plea to whoever won in 2018, which was Janet Mills, was that they would take that. If they could take one thing, they would take that and they would run with it. But they didn't. Maine has a taxpayer-funded position. It's the Canadian Ombudsman. And they're essentially a trade liaison between largely Quebec and the Maritime provinces. A guy named Danny DeVoe was the Canadian Ombudsman under the LePage administration. It's a full-time position, and their job is to encourage Canadian companies and Canadian people to invest in Maine. I remember when Donald Trump got reelected, and he started to impose tariffs on the Canadian economy. And there was a lot of fretting, and in some cases, bedwetting, when it came to the implementation of tariffs and what it would do to the Maine economy. But what I thought right away, and I talked about this back in March or so at a Maine Republican gathering at DeMillo's, what I thought almost immediately was this is an incredible opportunity to convince Canadian companies to move to Maine to circumvent the tariffs, which is exactly the purpose of what the president's trying to do. And what do you know? When I started to look into it. The Canadian ombudsman position hadn't been filled for the entirety of the Mills administration. We had no one going around to some of these businesses and saying, hey, move to Maine, we'll help you out. There was a woodworking tool company in I believe Woodstock, New Brunswick, which is very close to the Maine border. And some ridiculous number of over 70, 80% of their business was in the United States. And the reporter asked him, what are you going to do if these tariffs stayed into place? And his answer was, well, I'll either sell my business, I'll shut it down, or I'll move it to the United States. Now, I think it would be pretty easy for him to move from Western New Brunswick into Maine. It's not very far away, less than an hour. Move his business to Maine. But guess what? He didn't get an offer from Maine. He got an offer from Texas. And he was considering it. And I haven't done any follow-up on the story, but the fact of the matter is our government was completely negligent when it came time to take advantage of an opportunity to move business into Maine. Completely negligent. But I would be willing to bet that nobody else in the field even understood that position existed or understood the impact that it could have when moments of opportunity arise. I'm the only one that can completely understand those things because I've had the experience, I've watched the mechanisms work, and I have relationships with the players that matter in making those things work. Maine's governor needs to be an ambassador to the world, a promoter of Maine's benefits and strengths. We need a builder, not a caretaker. We need somebody to give people hope in the future, to deliver on promises, not just state them during a campaign, and build something for the future that matters. I'm the only one that can deliver that. We also need a governor who can be honest about what government can and cannot do. We are not Democrats. We don't believe that the government can do everything. I was watching the mayoral inauguration in New York City of Zoran Mamdani, and it sent chills up my spine when he said, we are going to replace the rigidity and coldness of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. Well, the warmth of collectivism usually comes from the burning of industry, and in some cases, people under dictatorial regimes. Something Venezuela knows a lot about. We don't believe in that. Republicans believe in rugged individualism. Republicans believe that the best thing that the government can do for people is to stay out of their way. And that will be my goal as governor, is to make government as inconsequential in your life as I can possibly make it. That will be my goal. But many candidates on both sides are promising things that a governor cannot deliver on at all or immediately. We have to be honest. Maine people can handle honesty. They can handle reality. In fact, they're very good at it. You know, one of the things that I've heard a lot talked about is that we're going to clean out the Department of Education and that's going to solve all of our education problems. We're going to get rid of the wokeness. We're going to get rid of all of that. That's great. And that can be done fairly quickly. Very, very quickly, actually. That's not the problem. The problem is that the power of education rests with individual school boards across the state. They have tremendous power. Tremendous power. And what the governor needs to do is, yes, take care of the Department of Education, And I've heard rumors of people saying that they're going to sign stacks of executive orders and that's going to solve the problem. It won't. It's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole wound. Real change lies at the school board. So as governor, I will be using the bully pulpit to go after school boards and remind them of their power and help them implement it. We're actually already seeing it. We're seeing it across the state. There's organizations that are teaching these school boards their power and have been incredibly effective. We have to be real about what the power of the governor is. We also have to be real about what we can and cannot deliver. Overpromising is political malpractice. And I will not overpromise to you. And the reason I can tell you that is because I have the experience of actually knowing how government operates and what you can and can't do, and how to do what you want to do. My governing philosophy will be very simple. Underpromise, overdeliver, tell people the truth, even when it hurts. I won't deliver to you unrealistic promises. I'm not going to tell you we're going to eliminate the income tax on the first day because you can't. I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to reduce your energy prices overnight because we can't. It has taken us decades to get to these points in these areas of education and energy and taxes, crime, decades of policy. It's going to take time to unwind them, and there are some quick fixes that we can do. But anyone promising you immediate relief, no matter what side of the aisle or in the middle they're on, is lying to you. We have to deliver truth to people. This will not be a traditional campaign. Not at all. Voters deserve real answers, and they're not going to get them in a debate sponsored by an organization. You'll get some quippy moments, but you're not going to get your results in that way. You're not going to get your answers there. Voters deserve real answers. They deserve longer explanations. They deserve context, not sound bites. And that's what this space is going to be. This space is going to be about my ideas, reactions to real events, solutions that can be provided to the problems facing the people. We'll respond directly to attacks or purposeful or designed confusion. It'll be a weekly check-in with voters. We'll read your emails. We'll take comments from the field. We'll listen to all of it. 2026 is not another election. I know every single time that there's a ballot, everybody wants to talk about this is the most important election of our lifetime. And there's some truth in that. But this is not another election. The Trump administration's years are limited. The new governor will have 2 years under the Trump administration. Maine has not had a governor work with the Trump administration for a long time. Some of my opponents on the other side of this aisle, and even in the middle, are talking about how they are actively going to resist the Trump administration. Actively going to resist them. It's foolishness. Foolishness. Even if you are a Democrat trying to drum up votes, you should be trying to figure out how to work with our federal partners, not immediately run on how to stop them. Because Donald Trump has figured out the powers of government and he's implementing them. I don't want to be on the receiving end of that. I want to learn how to work with our federal partners, whether that be the president or any other bureaucracy that's involved. Maine needs investment, and I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. and convince them that Maine's a great place to invest. If you're any of the other Democrat candidates, all you're going to do is sit there and complain and whine about Donald Trump and throw around the word democracy like they actually know what it means. That's not what I'm going to do. We're going to figure out how to work with Washington, federal partners, to invest in Maine. Susan Collins is on the ballot. Susan Collins is the most powerful woman in Washington. She heads the Appropriations Committee. There are little towns and big cities all over this state who have been the beneficiary of Susan Collins being at the helm of the very powerful Senate Appropriations Committee. She brings with her experience, knowledge, and the ability to win. 2026 is a big year for her as she fends off Janet Mills and her incompetency, and a communist in Graham Plattner, who we talked about on this show extensively. Probably one of the most dangerous politicians I've seen in a long time. But she's going to be on the ballot in 2026. The legislature is in play. In fact, right now, no party holds an absolute majority in the Maine House. Democrats do not have a majority there. They have a plurality. Republicans are close to taking over that chamber and have a great opportunity. In the Senate, there's some work to do, but I've done that before. I think I can be helpful in winning that majority back. I've done it a few times. Federal influence depends on Maine's alignment with federal priorities. That's also going to be a big deal in 2026. We have a fork in the road, folks. We can choose improvement or we can choose resistance with futility, because that's what it'll be. Maine needs a governor who knows how to work with other people, not someone who's skilled at political theater and fighting for fun. This campaign is not about me. This campaign has to be bigger than one person, one slogan, or multiple quippy sound bites on Facebook. I'm asking voters to join a movement for Maine. I'm asking our 186 Republican legislative candidates to join me. And I want to help you. I want to help our candidates for the legislature get elected. Because if they get elected, I'll get elected. I want to elect Republicans up and down the ballot, not only in the legislature, but on school boards, very important. Town councils, very important. And county commissions as well. I want to help you get elected. Other candidates may agree with you and tell you what you want to hear. But I am the only one in this field that can deliver. If you want someone who agrees with you, there are plenty of other options. If you want someone who can get the job done on day one, I'm asking you to join me. I'm asking you to go to masonformaine.com, sign up, donate money. Requires a lot of money to win these races. I'm asking for your help. So with that, I'm in, everybody. I'm officially in. We're going to be back with you every single week. The program will probably take a little bit of a different turn. We will have some guests on from time to time. But this is where I'm going to tell you what I think. It's where I'm going to tell you what I think is real, what I think isn't. And it's where we're going to deliver reality, not slogans, and not false promises. So join me. 2026 is a big year. Let's go out as Republicans, win together, and move our state forward in the way that we know we can. Maine is a special place. Let's fight for it. Let's protect it, and let's move it forward for the future.